Tonight, we're diving into 10 horror and cult classics that cemented John Carpenter as a master of suspense, sci fi, and darkly inventive storytelling. From killer cars and vengeful ghosts to dystopian futures and alien conspiracies, we'll explore the films that made his work unforgettable. Grab your popcorn, turn down the lights, and let's step into the world of John Carpenter. Assault on Precinct 13, 1976. Assault on Precinct 13, directed by John Carpenter, is one of the most influential action thrillers of the 1970s. It is a masterclass in building suspense and creating tension that lingers long after the film ends. The story takes place on a hot summer night in Los Angeles. A police precinct scheduled for closure finds itself under siege by a violent gang. Inside, a small group of officers and civilians is trapped. Lieutenant Ethan Bishop leads the defense with calm determination. He is joined by Napoleon Wilson, a hardened criminal who proves to be a surprisingly reliable ally. With no reinforcements and limited resources, they must hold off wave after wave of attackers. Every hallway, every stairwell, every flickering light adds to the sense of claustrophobia and imminent danger. Carpenter's direction is precise. The film's minimalist setting contributes to the tension, and the haunting synth-heavy score elevates the suspense. Each moment feels charged with anxiety, and even in quiet scenes, there is a sense of unease that makes the action feel even more intense. The pacing is deliberate, allowing character moments to breathe while keeping the audience engaged and on edge. Beyond the siege and the shootouts, Assault on Precinct 13 is a story about loyalty, survival, and the human instinct to persevere in the face of overwhelming odds. It examines the moral complexity of working together when lives are at stake, especially when the lines between lawmen and criminals become blurred. The film's influence on the action genre is undeniable, inspiring countless remakes, homages, and urban siege thrillers in the decades that followed. For anyone who enjoys taut, suspenseful thrillers with memorable characters and relentless tension, Assault on Precinct 13 remains essential viewing. Its combination of smart storytelling, unforgettable atmosphere, and intense action has stood the test of time. Halloween, 1978. John Carpenter's Halloween is often credited with launching the modern slasher genre, and for good reason. Simple, stripped down, and terrifyingly effective, it takes the primal fear of being watched and turns it into a cinematic nightmare. At its core is Michael Myers, an escaped killer who returns to his hometown of Haddonfield on Halloween night, stalking teenagers with an eerie patience that feels almost inhuman. Jamie Lee Curtis, in her breakout role as Laurie Strode, anchors the film with a performance that is both vulnerable and resilient. As one of horror's first true final girls, Laurie is relatable not because she's fearless, but because she's ordinary, a babysitter trying to get through the night, unaware that evil is watching from the shadows. Donald Pleasance adds gravitas as Dr. Loomis, the psychiatrist who understands Myers' nature better than anyone. Not a man, but pure evil given form. Carpenter's direction thrives on restraint. Wide shots linger on suburban streets and quiet houses, letting tension build in silence. Michael doesn't need to leap out at every turn. He simply exists in the frame, sometimes just barely visible, his mask blank and unreadable. The effect is chilling, making every glance over your shoulder feel dangerous. And then there's the music. Carpenter's minimalist score, written in a matter of days, is one of the most recognizable in film history. Those sharp piano notes and relentless rhythm don't just accompany the action. They drive it, transforming Michael into an unstoppable force. Halloween works because it takes the familiar and makes it terrifying. The safety of quiet neighborhoods, the innocence of teenage life, the comfort of childhood holidays, all are stripped away under the cold stare of The Shape. It's lean, relentless, and endlessly influential, a film that showed how much fear could be conjured with simplicity, precision, and a white mask. The Fog, 1980. John Carpenter's The Fog tells of a coastal California town haunted by leper sailors, betrayed by the founders a century earlier. The dead return shrouded in glowing mist to punish the descendants of those responsible and recover stolen gold, blending maritime ghost story tradition with Carpenter's modern horror sensibility. Adrienne Barbeau plays Stevie Wayne, a late-night radio DJ broadcasting from a lighthouse who becomes the town's warning system as the fog approaches. Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins are caught in the siege. The fog is Carpenter's star, a glowing moving wall from which decaying ghosts emerge. Practical makeup effects render the revenants convincingly centuries dead, their silence amplifying dread. Carpenter emphasizes atmosphere and pacing over exposition, creating tension from the inexorable approach of the supernatural threat. Shot on a modest budget, the film uses limited locations and lighting to maximum effect. Carpenter's synthesizer score heightens unease, and every scene reinforces the town's impending doom. The Fog demonstrates that sometimes the most terrifying horror comes from watching something unstoppable and deadly approach. Escape from New York, 1981. Carpenter imagines 1997 Manhattan as a maximum security prison for America's worst criminals. When Air Force One crashes inside, the president is captured by the Duke of New York. Snake Plissken, former Special Forces turned criminal, is offered a pardon if he can rescue the president within 24 hours, with explosives implanted to enforce compliance. Kurt Russell's Snake is a gravelly, distrustful anti-hero. Lee Van Cleef plays Police Commissioner Hawk, Donald Pleasance, the ineffectual president, and Isaac Hayes, the commanding duke. Ernest Borgnine, Harry Dean Stanton, and Adrienne Barbeau populate the prison city, a lawless microcosm of survival and crime. Carpenter uses St. Louis locations and matte paintings to depict a decaying Manhattan. Practical production design emphasizes an anarchic city, while the glider entry and 69th Street Bridge climax deliver thrilling spectacle. The film blends action with dystopian satire, using chaos to highlight societal collapse. Through Snake's cynical lens, Carpenter questions authority and American exceptionalism. Snake's final defiance delivers perfect closure, cementing Escape from New York as a genre-defining dystopian action film and establishing Carpenter and Russell as enduring icons of science fiction and action cinema. The Thing, 1982. John Carpenter's The Thing is a masterclass in paranoia, atmosphere, and body horror. Set in the icy isolation of an Antarctic research station, the film follows a group of scientists who discover that a shape-shifting alien has infiltrated their base. Able to perfectly imitate any living organism, the creature turns friends into threats and trust into a deadly gamble. Kurt Russell anchors the story as R.J. McReady, a helicopter pilot forced into reluctant leadership as suspicion tears the group apart. The supporting cast, including Wilford Brimley, Keith David, and Donald Moffat, bring rugged authenticity, each man slowly unraveling under the psychological pressure of not knowing who to trust. What truly makes The Thing legendary are Rob Bottin's groundbreaking special effects. From the infamous chest chomp to the grotesque spider head, the transformations are a nightmarish showcase of imagination and craft. Even today, the practical effects remain jaw-dropping, a disturbing blend of viscera, surrealism, and uncanny realism that CGI still struggles to replicate. Carpenter amplifies the terror with slow, suffocating tension. Long stretches of silence, broken by bursts of shocking violence, keep the audience on edge. Ennio Morricone's score, with its minimalist, pulsing heartbeat motif, underscores the mounting dread. The Antarctic setting itself is a character, vast, empty, and merciless, ensuring there's no escape from the monster or from each other. More than just a creature feature, The Thing is a study of fear and mistrust. The true horror isn't just the alien lurking in the dark, but the suspicion that anyone, even your closest ally, could already be infected. Its bleak, ambiguous ending leaves viewers unsettled, cementing its status as one of the most chilling and uncompromising films of the decade. Christine, 1983. John Carpenter adapts Stephen King's novel about a 1958 Plymouth Fury with a murderous spirit. Teen Arnie Cunningham buys Christine as a rusted wreck and becomes obsessed with restoring her. But as the car is revived, Arnie changes too, transforming from bullied outcast into a dangerous, obsessive figure whose personality mirrors Christine's malevolent presence. Keith Gordon conveys Arnie's corruption convincingly, shifting from sympathetic to frightening as the car asserts its influence. Alexandra Pauls Lee notices the danger, while John Stockwell's Dennis observes helplessly. Harry Dean Stanton plays Detective Junkins, investigating the mounting deaths around Christine with weary authority. Christine herself is filmed with fetishistic attention, the camera lingering on curves and chrome. Restoration sequences show the car repairing itself through clever practical effects, while attack scenes display intelligence and menace. The Flaming Christine sequence combines stunt work and visual spectacle to chilling effect. Carpenter elevates what could be a gimmick into effective horror, using widescreen compositions and a synthesizer score to make Christine feel alive. Themes of obsession, toxic attachment, and possession drive the story, showing how a machine can dominate its human owner with as much terror as any supernatural monster. Big Trouble in Little China, 1986. John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China turns the action hero concept on its head, casting trucker Jack Burton as comic relief, while his friend Wang Chi is the true hero. When Wang's fiancée is kidnapped by ancient sorcerers beneath Chinatown, Jack blunders into the conflict with bravado, repeatedly getting outmatched while Wang does the real work. Kurt Russell plays Jack with oblivious confidence, delivering macho one-liners while misreading situations. Dennis Dunn's Wang Chi is skilled, composed, and continually rescuing Jack. Kim Cattrall's Gracie Law reluctantly joins the adventure, while James Hong's Lo Pan, cursed to exist without a corporeal form, must marry a green-eyed woman to regain flesh. Carpenter populates San Francisco's Chinatown with a magical underworld, complete with elemental warriors and sorcerers wielding lightning and supernatural power. Practical effects, wire work, and optical effects bring the three storms and Lo Pan's transformations to life. The production design makes the streets feel layered, ordinary above, but extraordinary below. The film affectionately pastiches Hong Kong action cinema and supernatural martial arts, filtered through Carpenter's American action sensibility. Pacing is relentless, blending comedy, spectacle, and supernatural threat without tipping into parody. Though a theatrical disappointment, home video cemented it as a cult classic, a unique adventure that deconstructs its own genres while delivering them fully. Prince of Darkness, 1987. By the late 1980s, John Carpenter had already given us Halloween, The Thing, and Escape from New York. But in 1987, he took a quieter, stranger route with Prince of Darkness, a film that feels like the world ending in slow motion, inside a crumbling Los Angeles church. The story begins when a priest discovers a sealed cylinder hidden beneath the building. Inside is a swirling green fluid that seems to defy science. A team of graduate students and scientists is brought in to study it, but as the liquid begins to seep into their world, reality itself starts to decay. Dreams become messages from the future. Possession spreads like infection. What they're confronting might not be the devil, but the physical embodiment of evil itself, a concept older than religion, buried beneath mathematics and physics. Donald Pleasance returns from Halloween, this time as a priest trying to rationalize faith against the impossible. Victor Wong and Dennis Dunn, fresh off Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China, anchor the scientific side, and Alice Cooper appears as one of the church's possessed wanderers, a role inspired by his stage persona. Carpenter composed the score himself, a minimalist synth pulse that mirrors the film's sense of unstoppable dread. Though critics dismissed it at release, Prince of Darkness thrived on video shelves, becoming a favorite for late-night renters who wanted something deeper than slasher fare. It's a movie about the end of reason, where science meets faith and both lose. Few horror films capture that creeping sense that humanity was never meant to understand what's really out there. They Live, 1988. John Carpenter's They Live is a sci-fi action thriller with sharp Reagan-era commentary. Drifter Nada discovers sunglasses that reveal Earth is secretly controlled by aliens who manipulate humans through subliminal messages in advertising, media, and currency. Billboards and magazines suddenly display commands like obey, consume, and stay asleep, exposing a society blind to its own subjugation. Roddy Piper brings everyman grit to Nada, a working-class hero drawn into resistance by circumstance. His improvised line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," became instant cult dialogue. Keith David plays Frank, his skeptical ally, enduring a 6-minute alley fight to finally understand the truth. Meg Foster portrays Holly Thompson, a media executive navigating the fine line between collaboration and rebellion. The aliens are skeletal humanoids hiding among the powerful and wealthy. Carpenter contrasts the city's gleaming towers with shantytown encampments, using practical effects to reveal the aliens through the glasses. Everyday objects become tools of propaganda, blending capitalism and authoritarian control with chilling subtlety. Carpenter balances political satire with action, from bank shootouts to television station raids, never letting the message overshadow the thrills. Initially a box office failure, They Live gained cult status in the home video era. Its anti-consumerist themes resonating decades later as media manipulation and wealth inequality have intensified. In the Mouth of Madness, 1994, reality bends and crumbles in John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, a 1994 descent into cosmic horror and madness. The story follows insurance investigator John Trent, played by Sam Neill, hired to track down missing horror novelist Sutter Kane. Kane's books are said to drive readers insane, and as Trent digs deeper, he realizes fiction and reality are beginning to merge. The film unfolds like a labyrinth. Small cracks in the world widen into gaping fissures, readers go mad, towns appear and vanish, and Kane's words seem to rewrite existence itself. Trent, skeptical at first, finds himself pulled into a world that refuses to obey logic. Carpenter builds the tension through surreal imagery and escalating paranoia, making the audience question every scene just as much as Trent does. In the Mouth of Madness is deeply indebted to Lovecraft's legacy of cosmic horror, where human understanding is dwarfed by forces too vast and alien to comprehend. But Carpenter adds his own flair. Dark humor, a relentless pace, and a willingness to push the nightmare to its breaking point. By the film's climax, Trent's grip on reality has fully unraveled, leaving the audience trapped in the same disorienting spiral. It's not just a horror story, it's a story about horror itself and the dangerous power of stories to reshape the world. In the Mouth of Madness is unsettling, imaginative, and one of Carpenter's most enduring cult classics. A film where the scariest part isn't the monsters, but the realization that you can no longer trust what's real. Dark Star, 1974. Dark Star is a cult classic directed by John Carpenter, blending science fiction, parody, and dark comedy. Released in 1974, this 83-minute film takes a humorous and satirical look at space travel and the absurdities of life aboard a spaceship. The story follows a small crew on a decades-long mission to destroy unstable planets. As they drift through the far reaches of space, their mission becomes increasingly chaotic, revealing the crew's interactions and the challenges they face, particularly with an alien creature that causes unexpected troubles. The film is notable for its low-budget charm and creative special effects, showcasing Carpenter's early directorial talent. With a unique blend of slapstick humor and philosophical musings, Dark Star critiques the mundane aspects of space exploration and the human condition. Starring Dan O'Bannon, who also co-wrote the film, the characters are quirky and relatable, making their absurd situations all the more entertaining. The dialogue is filled with memorable exchanges, particularly between Lieutenant Doolittle and the ship's bomb, which leads to some thought-provoking and comedic moments. With an IMDb rating of 6.1, Dark Star has earned a place in the hearts of fans for its originality and humor. It's a film that invites viewers to appreciate the lighter side of sci-fi while also pondering deeper existential questions. If you're looking for a film that combines humor, creativity, and a touch of surrealism, Dark Star is definitely worth a watch. If you love discovering forgotten horror and cult cinema, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the films time forgot. Thanks for watching, and remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is someone's favorite.